A band of light weaves through the exterior veil of the eastern facade, casting pockets of soft and sharp light along its interior surfaces. As daylight penetrates through the openings, it allows the imagination to be woken by the wildlife flourishing along the interior. It stirs an awareness of nature in the context of the urban environment. The constants of nature pulsing along the walls mimics the constant pulse of the city. Where does nature end and the city begin? While on a walk in my neighborhood of Fort Greene one afternoon, I discovered the answer is not so simple. Here we have a tree subdued by the cement, but expanding beyond its allocated space. Vines tighten and sprawl up and around the brickwork of the building. Moss proliferates along a porous stone facade, sustained only by water, air, and small pockets of daylight. Seeing this symbiosis reminded me that nature grows as part of the city. Why do we often separate our city from nature? My thesis, Guerrilla Nature, promotes an alternative urban attitude. We can no longer afford to see the fence and the tree as disparate systems in play. According to the literature on biophilic design, this idea of separateness inspires a disconnection from nature, demotivating us to protect and care for our environment. Guerrilla Nature employs an integration of nature into everyday life. Instead of requiring residents to journey to where nature is embedded in the residents. Green walls are widely used to inspire biophilic effects. They have been found to lower blood pressure, reduce stress, and improve air quality. However, green walls often end in the lobby, and biophilic effects are reduced when out of the reach in a transitional space. Instead of greenwashing a transitional space, which indicates the separation of nature, Guerrilla Nature has residents experience nature in the places they are around all the time. The project specifically allows for nature to display its full life cycle on structure. The structure is made up of biological concrete. The innovative feature of this concrete is that it acts as natural support for the development of biological organisms, such as microalgae, lichens, and mosses. The symbiosis, nature on structure, can be used as a tool for reorganizing the way people think about urban environments. Instead of relegating nature to a transitional space, I want residents to have frequent and direct access. Instead of clean lines between nature and structure, I want to create a guerrilla nature that highlighted the pre-existing symbiosis on our city streets. The terracing atop the sky canopy allows for a roost and bird observatory. This shows the residents' nature as it comes into their home. The top deck supports native trees and plant life that a chosen bird species are attracted to. The open structure allows the occupants to see nature emerging from within the nested habitat out to the world. An additional goal is that the birdsongs will mask some of the urban sounds from busy streets adjacent to the courtyard. Within the interior, each level will sustain unique spaces that include plant and tree life. The open roof allows large amounts of light and stormwater to enter, nourishing internal plant life, as well as creating greater amounts of contrast and visibility to the lower levels through the central core. The layered light and plant life creates a canopy system reminiscent of natural forest. The open structure allows the residents to see nature entering into the habitat and nature emerging from within. The massing of the structure was informed by these sun shadow studies. Here you can see the south-southeast facades won't receive a majority of solar exposure until noon, so the massing should be positioned to the south. A deep pocket of daylight is created by forming a curve in the open roof. Equinox and summer solstice offer longer daylight hours, and the higher sun angle allows for greater direct solar gain for long durations by avoiding surrounding building structures. The large fenestrations on both the north and south-facing facades allow greater access to direct sun exposure, cross-ventilation, and pollination. The form and position of the fenestrations were also guided by the daylight autonomy analysis. The facade has two types of apertures along the entire surface. Larger apertures will allow for greater pools of daylight to be harvested into the interior for lighting and nourishing plant life. The smaller apertures cast sharp points of light, creating dappling effect, allowing daylight to mimic a dense forest of trees. The positions for plant-directed light can be assessed through my daylight autonomy analysis. This informed where to place plants with intensive solar requirements, like pockets of red zones, and where low light to full shading plants will thrive, the blue zones. The slide shows the light from the east-south side of the building. As illustrated during the months of December, where the solar angle is much lower, the plants that require peak and medium solar radiation will not sustain much growth. Along the exterior and interior, each level sustains unique spaces that include plant and tree life. The plant hardiness zone chart can be used to determine what plants are best suited for the microclimates inside and along the facade. The plants I incorporated were native plant species from the northeastern zone. During the winter months, green life will not flourish. However, instead of replacing the plants and vines will be left in place. This allows more light to pass through the facade and the surrounding area, giving residents more daylight access during darker months. The natural decay and regrowth of life, these oft rejected liminal elements, are an integral component of guerrilla nature. Instead of employing evergreens or rotating bouquet of flowers, plants are left to display their natural life cycle over the course of years. Guerrilla nature takes many different forms within the context of our urban environments because it is the type of nature that is ubiquitous amongst architectural forms. It is the wild nature, the kind of overgrowth eradicated from our constructed environments. As people are made aware of the symbiosis of nature on structure, the thesis focuses residents towards this symbiosis in all walks of urban life. Guerrilla nature says, look at all that's in here, what could be out there? Thank you, and I look forward to receiving your feedback on Thursday.